Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Yang, a second-year PhD student from Tsinghua University. My advisor is Stella Christie, and today my topic here is analogy use in parental examination. This research is done with my team members, Kexin, Zijing, Yi, and advised by Stella. First, please allow me to start my presentation with Lawrence, a scientist. He titled his Nobel Prize acceptance speech as analogy as a source of knowledge. So analogy, a comparison between things that have similar features, is used by scientists to aid their scientific research. Actually, not just scientists. In previous studies, analogies is found commonly and broadly used, especially by experts. There are two groups of presumed experts, scientists and teachers. First, scientists. A lot of studies have documented scientists' use of analogies to aid scientific discoveries with the overt goal. And the other well-studied group is teachers. Across mathematics, science, and history classrooms, teachers make extensive use of analogy with teaching preparation. But these literatures tell us little about spontaneous generation of analogies. And scientists use analogy to help their work, and teachers use analogy with previous preparation. Rather than from spontaneous on-the-spot thinking. They are not generated spontaneously by these two groups. So how about ordinary people? And scientists and teachers are just part of the population. Who else may generate analogy spontaneously? Parents. Actually, here is a very famous analogy generated by parents. In movie Forrest Gump, Forrest said, my mama always said, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you are gonna get. Here, Forrest's mom gave him an analogy of life to chocolate to help him understand life's complexity and uncertainty. So, analogy is spontaneously used by parents when they explain to young children. Young children ask a huge number of questions and most often direct them at their best experts, parents, for explanation. This presents us a good opportunity for investigating spontaneous analogy generation. So here comes the research gap. Is it true that normal people do generate analogies spontaneously? And how often? As such, in the current research, for the first study, we need to know about parental explanations. Do parents generate analogies spontaneously to children? And if yes, why would even bother? I still remember when I first gave my research talk here on parental relational languages in book reading. Mashu has asked me a question. If the parents could read the book lightly without any analogies, why would they bother to use analogies? So for the second step, we want to take a look at the parents' perceptions on analogical explanations, for it would be a possible reason of why they would use explanations. And for the third step, we want to know children's perceptions on analogical explanations. Do children think analogical explanations are better, same as their parents? In order to understand the first question, the real spontaneously generated analogies in parental explanation, in study 1, we first invite parents to contribute their children's real-life questions and their own real explanations. Here are our participants. Because we want to make it as natural as we could, and we use internet articles to collect these questions and information. How we approach it? In previous studies, it's the researchers who generate the questions and explanations in experiments. But in our study, we need the spontaneous questions and explanations. So we want to know, what do children ask spontaneously? We sent out an internet article inviting families to submit real questions from children. In total, we received 133 children's real-life questions. And then also, we want to know, what do parents explain spontaneously to maximize spontaneity and ecological validity. The questions were distributed one by one. We put one question per day on an internet poll, like posting. In total, we have 257 explanations for selected 28 questions. Here are examples of our real questions. Actually, the children's real-life questions range from daily life questions to social questions. Most questions we received were about daily life, maybe different from previous studies. Most of them are scientific or some generated questions. Here are some examples for each type. We can take a look at the social one because there are too many. For the social question by children, why can he or she ask his mom, why did you marry dad if you dislike him? And some parents give a non-analogical explanation. I did not dislike him this much before living together. And some parents give an analogical explanation. I dislike part of your dad, just like that I hate the rain in the summer. But I do like part of your dad, just like I love watermelons in the summer. The parents gave this analogical explanation to related this paradox of like and dislike. So do you prefer analogical one or the non-analogical ones? Then let's take a look at the results of this study. Here are the participants of analogical explanations for each type. Do parents use an analogy spontaneously? Yes. 14% were analogical among these explanations. And here are the percentage of each type. And okay, now for study 1, we know that parents do generate analogy spontaneously. Then in study 2, we want to know parents' perceptions. Do parents think analogical explanations are better? We asked a new group of parents to rate these explanations. We also ask elementary school teachers because they often give explanations to students, and college students because they often receive explanations from professors. We use a subset of explanations in study 1. We were interested in knowing how people would rate the analogical versus non-analogical explanations, and whether parents, college students, and teachers differed in their ratings. Here are our participants. We also have a true multiple choice design. First, the type of the explanations. We have 2 types, analogical versus non-analogical. Second, we have the quality of explanations. We have 2 qualities, good versus bad. The quality are judged by the experimenters on an analogy. We selected 73 explanations from study 1, including 4 cat trial explanations. Participants rated them on a 7-point scale using an online survey. At the beginning of the survey, participants were told that the questions came from children, and the explanations came from the real parents. No mentioning of analogy at all. Let's look at the result. First, the main effects of type. Overall, parents, teachers, and students give higher ratings for analogical explanations as we expected than for the non-analogical explanations. The effect of explanation types still existed after taking this into account. Second, let's take a look at the quality. We were interested in whether people were sensitive to the quality of explanations, especially the analogical analogy quality. To investigate this, 5 experimenters who are trained analogy researchers first independently rated the explanations as good analogy versus bad analogy. Then we have this, using this criteria as expected, we found people's ratings were aligned with these experimenters. All gave higher ratings to good analogical explanations than to the bad ones. So for study 2, do parents think analogical explanations are better? Yes. Till now, we mainly test the givers of explanations and the adults. For study 3, we plan to take a look at the receivers of these explanations, the children. We want to know children's perceptions on these explanations. Are they the same as their parents? Because these explanations were given as response to the children's questions. So we use children as here to ask whether children themselves think that the analogical explanations are satisfactory answers. To do so, in study 3, we ask a new group of parents and their children pairs to rate explanations. We were interested both in the group's differences as well as in the individual parent-child pair agreement. Here are our participants. We have 15 pairs. And in study 3, we reduced the number of explanations to accommodate child participants and to control for the explanation length. In fact, all participants saw all 16 explanations. We also included the 4 cat-trial explanations to check for participants' engagement. Parents and children rated the explanations on a 5-point scale. And the children would, because they in our target age group have limited reading ability, we presented them with an audio survey, while parents received the text version with same content. We have 4 questions with 4 explanations for each. Here are one example. Just for the good analogical explanation, the child's question is, why do people have to eat? And the good analogical explanation is, just like that phone needs charging, we gain energy from eating. And the bad analogical explanation, there is a little elf in your tummy that needs to eat. And good non-analogical explanation, we need energy, and eating is obtaining energy. Hydrocarbon, protein, and fat will provide us energy. And also bad non-analogical explanation, you will get stuffed if you don't eat. Also, the good and bad are judged by the experimenter and the participants in study 2. Let's take a look at the results. First, the main effect of type and parents. Also, as expected, parents gave higher ratings to analogical explanations. aligned with study 2. And for the main effect of quality, the parents give higher ratings to good explanations. And for parents, it's very interesting. First, the main effect of type by children. However, surprisingly, children rated analogical explanations lower, different from their parents. That means that they are less satisfied with the analogical explanations than non-analogical explanations. And also for the quality of explanations. Surprisingly, although children gave lower ratings for analogical explanations, they could only distinguish the quality of analogical explanations. They give equal score to the good long analogical explanations and bad long analogical explanations. So here are the summary of our studies. First, parents do spontaneously use analogy in their explanations, even without any mentioning of analogy. Second, all adult groups, including the parents, teachers, and undergraduates, are more satisfied with analogical than non-analogical explanations. It means that adults seem to have an agreement on the preference of analogical explanations. Third, the children don't show a preference to analogical explanations, which is different from their parents. Oh, I forget to report. We found no correlation with the child and parent group in study 3. And fourth, children are only sensitive to the explanation quality when these explanations are with analogies. But why children have such difference with their parents? We want to take a look at the children's performance and their sayings after the experiment. Here, one possible reason for the difference between the children and parents. I noticed that in one experiment, when the children read the explanation, the question is, why is the earth round but it seems flat? And here is a good analogical explanation. Just like if an ant is sitting on a basketball, it will think that the ball is flat. All the adults think this is a good analogical explanation. But this child gave 1 score to this explanation. And I asked him when we finished the research. He just replied me, I don't see any connection or relationship between the question and answer. So I just gave 1 score to the explanation. Then we may say that one possible reason for the difference is knowledge base. Because the children's lack of knowledge base, it may make them blind to understand the analogies, which is different from the adults. Adults has a better knowledge base, which would help them to understand the analogical explanation better, and so they could would prefer the analogical explanation. Also, we have some other future research directions, and this research is very novel for the generation of spontaneous spontaneous analogy generation. We want to know more about this spontaneous analogy generation. First is that we want to know the impact of analogical explanations on children. There are three possible directions. First is that the analogical explanations may help to motivate the curiosity of children. Because in previous studies on explanation, although children are not satisfied with some incomplete explanations, they would be motivated to be more curious and want to explore more for further and more complete information. Analogical explanation, which concludes some implicit relations to help to explain, compared to the causal ones, may be somewhat incomplete and would possibly motivate children's curiosity as well. The second is learning outcome. Do analogical explanations result in better memory or generalizations compared to non-analogical explanations? Because the analogy somewhat would involve the listeners to think more and have them self-knowledge to engage in the process. That may help them to memorize. The third is social connection or social trust. This idea is generated actually by Stella and our team members, which is that analogy somewhat may make the listener to feel like closer, because when just like when a classroom, when I hear a professor give an analogy to explain the knowledge in the class, I will feel closer because I think he or she takes me into consideration when he or she prepare the class. Then I would have a better or closer social connection with this analogy user. And instead of measuring the true impact, we could also measure their ideals. What do people think they could gain from analogy, or what they believe analogy could benefit them? Do you think that, do you believe analogies could bring more curiosity, better learning outcome, or closer social connections? Because in many previous studies, people's belief would influence their behavior, even though they have no idea of the true impacts of this. So in the end, here again, Forrest Gap. If I could give a reply to Forrest Gap saying, "Mama always had a way of explaining things so I could understand them," I would say, because she used analogy. Thank you. Here is my talk today, and thank my team members and Stella. And I also want to give special thanks to postdoc in our lab who helped me a lot on today's talk, Hong Hong, Longshen, and Titan. Here is my email address if you have any further discussion. And now maybe it's time for the questions. Thank you.